Hello and welcome back to yet another live podcast from the award-winning Argyle Life. I'll let these guys say their piece in a minute, but from me, it's short and sweet. And just thank you to everybody that's liked, comment, subscribed, listened. What else can you do? Comment, ask questions, share, interact, all of that good stuff. It means a lot. And Friday night, Thursday night. When was it? The other night in Leeds was brilliant and kind of gives meaning to this hour, normally an hour, but normally 2 hour long ramble that we have most Sunday nights to talk about Plymouth Argyle Football Club. And if we can win bronze with very limited editing, none of us own microphones apart from Adam. We're doing pretty well. So maybe if we invest wisely, we might be able to get a silver next year, but we'll see. But really appreciate everybody who have sent congratulations, who have bought us drinks at Vale, who have spoken to us and come up to us and got photos. Even the famous Jill Black of Greens on Screen. It's amazing, and we really appreciate it. Also, huge thanks must go to the club and Simon Hallett for endless content over the last few years, from 101-point champions, Steven Schumacher dumping us for Stoke City, Ian Foster, the final day against Hull, Wayne Rooney, just Wayne Rooney alone, Brentford away, Liverpool at home, Manchester City away, Miron Muslic, the relegation, Muslic again, this time leaving us for Schalke, and then the hiring of Tom Cleverley. And we can never say it's boring. So thank you to the club for that as well. Joining me tonight, the award-winning Adam Price. How's things?
Good evening. Very well. I've had a lovely week, with the exception perhaps of Friday morning, when I was not of this world. But yeah, that aside, it's been very good. Very good, thank you.
Yeah, I think you enjoyed the hospitality up at Leeds United slightly more than the rest of us. The award-winning Dan Ellard, how's things?
Yeah, pretty good. It was an amazing couple of days up in Leeds, and then obviously going back via Stoke-on-Trent, and Plymouth Argyle not ruining our weekend, which was nice. And
last but not least, Sam Down, how's things?
I just knew you were going to do that. Yeah. Very good, thank you. Thank you for making that short and sweet. The long version would have been probably taking up the whole of the show, so thank you for that.
I learned from the best.
Yeah.
Sam, do you want to say anything about the?
I want to echo what you've said and give all my thanks to genuinely everybody who's voted for us, who's put up with my meltdowns, with my prolonged rambles. Thank you for the club for giving us so much content to talk about. It's certainly not been boring, has it, since we kind of restarted the podcast 3 years ago, genuinely nearly to this day. This sort of Argyle Live podcast 2.0 started. It was after the Burton game with Adrian Mariappa giving that last-minute goal against us. From then, we had that amazing second half of the season, winning the league. Utter chaos of the 23-24 season, which had lots of highs and lots of lows, and everything since then, which has just been, with some amazing exceptions like Brentford, Liverpool, Luton, I guess, pretty much all lows. But it's certainly not been boring. It's been a lot to talk about, and yes, let's come up in the comments. Our Talk Sport Cup run. If you enjoyed watching us on that and that helped you vote, again, thank you. That was also an amazing experience. It's just been a really amazing 3 years to be sort of, back part of this podcast. I really sort of hope that it continues to thrive with all of us guys and all the others who aren't on screen tonight for a great deal of time to come. And I just, as well as what Aaron said, I want to obviously thank everyone else, as well as us four. We've all congratulated each other, and I thank everyone else who's involved. There's been involved who's not on tonight. James, our founder, for example, people like Joe, who obviously hosts and panelists and all of it. Finn, Ben, Graham, of course, John, who's currently enjoying the delights of Australia. James, Nick, the Argyle analyst, Nick, James from one team in Devon. Am I forgetting anyone? That they've all done amazingly.
Adam, this is a content award, and the written content is obviously a huge part of that, which you've basically carried on your back for the last 3 years, if not longer. Anything you want to add?
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe it's what's led to me to be able to present this on screen, which is, yeah, there we go. Let's look at the
Beautiful.
lovely reflections you get in there as well, which I didn't bank for, and you can see what's on the screen. I mean, thank goodness it was modest for now. But yeah, it's really just a case of echoing everything that's been said, isn't it? It really is humbling, really. Borderline emotional experience to have been recognised for it. I mean, you got there on Thursday night as it was, and I think by that point I managed to hold it together because I hadn't cried since at least Tuesday. So to be able to go through another experience like that and just get to have that recognition, I mean, it's really weird that we're a group of mates who sit around and talk about Argyle, and it just boggles my mind every time that so many people enjoy that as we do, and it delights me that they do as well. And if me rambling on every single week about who our next opponents are going to be in written form has contributed to that, then I very much take that honour, and I hope people have been enjoying that just as much as well. And I mean, I've not got much else going on, so it's certainly not going to stop anytime soon. So yeah, just huge thanks to all the guys that have been mentioned, everybody that's been watching, everybody, of course, that's voted, and to you lot for, I think, dubiously letting me keep this. I think it's very much a case of more deserving applicants to the crown being a lot more humble, and it's fallen my way. But I'll take it all the same.
Get a better claim next year when it's the gold, that's all.
I see. Yeah, no, Sam down playing the long game as ever. So I'm really, really honoured by it, and I'm here's to the next 3 years, right? If we can get to that time and Adrian Mariappa has not scored another last minute header against us the day before the World Cup starts, I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, anyone in particular you want to thank? Maybe your parents, maybe a former Scouse head coach that you quite enjoyed.
I'm not going to mention his name this week. I'm going to go for a very rare occasion and not mention his name. It's just echoing what you guys have all said. You've all put it so well, so I'll just add my name to the thanks for that. And you've all done a terrific job. I have the easy job of basically just turning up and ranting for 2 hours, normally about one particular Scouse ex-manager, every other week or so. And I think we all love doing what we do, even though it's not been the most pleasant a conversation over the past probably 18 months in particular. But yeah, let's keep on rolling. It was a really it was a brilliant evening, and I think we all kind of, other than you, Aaron, because you'd been kind of hinted at that you knew we'd won something beforehand. Sorry to spoil the magic, but we kind of all just, when they said our name that we'd won a bronze award, we all kind of looked at each other like, we don't really know what to do here. Like, do we stand up? Are we all go in? Does one of us go?
Autopilot and started clapping, and then
yeah, it was just a pretty bizarre moment, wasn't it? And then and then it kind of sunk in. So it was cool, and a really good evening as well. The FCA's really. It was a really well organised, well run evening, and a lot of fun. Even if we hadn't won anything, would have been a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask Adam about that because obviously he was there last year, but the visit to Ellen Road was much more enjoyable than the one to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Just wonder if there was any highlights from your night, whether it was Cal the Dragon or United Strand.
United Strand was a good one. Yeah, with full disclosure and apologies to the man, did not know who Cal the Dragon was until about 48 hours ago. Oh, well, a bit longer than that, isn't it? So, there's just as much chance that he'd want to get a photo with us as we did with him, in my mind. But now I know, so that's fun. It really was. It really was really well polished this year. I think we'd all said similar as well, even before the award was announced. This is very much not us speaking in hindsight of, oh, we've won something, so it must have been better. No, genuinely the event they put on with just as I said, the polishedness, which I'm claiming is a word now, of it, the way the food worked, the Baby Bell cheesecake, which Aaron didn't have any of, but I loved. There must have been something to that, and and then obviously the mingling after as well, which was fantastic, which I later found the following day, Sam Down described as the most drunk he'd ever seen me. I can't recall exactly what the moment was that made him realise that, so I won't say on air. But it was clearly well worth us indulging in. Just really good all round, actually, and really nice to be amongst like-minded people who certainly this year had a really good and really nice event put on for them that I think perhaps we thought was lacking last time around. So, yeah. I think it's weird, isn't it? Weird to just be coming on here and going, I think we're all happy. I'm not used to this. But no, it's just
we haven't
really...
talked about the game yet, though.
No, I know, but even so, it's got us in a situation where I can just at the end go, yeah, that was really good. I liked it.
It was definitely worth the ticket price this year. Maybe not so last year. But yeah.
I'm not sure it was good. I'm not quite sure I would say it was worth the price. The price was quite high, but it was a very good evening. It was much better than last year. Food was better, more of it. Dessert was better, and I think it was better than it was kind of all in. I mean, the viewers list is not going to have a clue, but last year with it being actually in the ground, whilst it was really good, you could go and step out into like the executive boxes and get your picture taken to the backdrop of the stadium, which was really cool. The kind of mingling area was in like a totally different room to where you actually sat down for the awards. And I felt that made it a little bit disconnected, but in the kind of suite at Ellen Road, it was all in one sort of big open plan area, which I feel made it a lot better. And that we were really very much made to feel welcome. Great to meet some other people there as well, other supporters, other podcasters, and representatives of other organizations who were up. You said Cal the Dragon, you said United Strand. Martin Tyler was there as well, very briefly, wasn't he? I think he went home at the interval. He is a man in his late 70s, so who can blame him? A lot of people asking if I spilt anything. No, I didn't. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
No, not at all. And obviously the second tier lads and whatever else, we did tell them what we thought of their social media output that they have often stolen from us, which is good. They were good. They were good lads, really. Who else? Her game too, and the lads on our table were good lads as well. But Gold Diggers non-league content. Go check.
Notts County Talk were on our table.
Exactly. And if you for some reason you support Notts County and you're watching this, go and check them out. And if you support Notts County, you most probably already know they exist. But the Gold Diggers guy, his vlogs, I've checked one of those out this morning. It's quite good. Go check those.
I was also mobbed by Only Swans, who recognised me from the Pie Face vlog, and I'm going to shout them out because that is the best name for a podcast or content creation output that I've ever heard from anyone. Absolutely fantastic.
Class. Right, enough of this. Loving. Let's get on to the meat.
Can I just say one more thing as well about what I thought made it really good, and then I'll let you move on. I absolutely loved kind of chatting to fellow beleaguered kind of lower league football fans, because I think we all kind of suffer a similar pain a lot of the time, following our club up and down the country, and it was just really nice to kind of share some of that stuff with them. I mean, Port Vale fans, Mansfield, Swindon. We met the Swindon kit men, which was quite cool, and Peterborough, Notts County, as you said, just all sorts of kind of fans, Doncaster from up and down the country, and my favourite bit was when we were all standing in a circle. I think kind of 4 different clubs' fans were represented in this circle of about 10 people. And someone mentioned the name referee Trevor Kettle, and everyone groaned at the same time. It was like, it's not just us, is it? It's like, yeah, that kind of camaraderie was nice. So it was, that was my favourite part of the evening, other than winning the award, of course. That just chatting to fellow fans that are in a very much a similar boat to us.
Yeah, like I said, it's painful travelling up and down the country, and that's what we did on Saturday. Sam, the early kickoff up at Vale Park. Do you want to give us your customary match run through? Obviously, now the award-winning match run through, so I can't even tell you to cut it short, because that's seemingly what wins us awards. So
yeah,
you do what you need to do.
Thank you. Well, we won. It's the first and most important thing, and I know that seemed a bit trite, a bit cliched, but honestly, with other results as well, and the fact that it was a relegation 6-pointer, if such a thing can indeed ever be described at such an early stage of the season, I feel if we'd lost that, we genuinely would have been almost in territory of close to being cut adrift. So it was absolutely crucial that we at least drew that game and quite preferably won it. And obviously we did in fact win it. I don't think the performance was convincing at all. And I don't just mean that in a kind of hand wave away. Oh, that's kind of a good team if you play well and win, because, well, I think that absolutely has a grain of truth to it, in that good teams know how to win ugly when they need to, and that they just have that little bit more mentality in tight games. Generally, teams who just ship more big chances than they create are almost certainly going to, lose more than they win, or at the very least fail to win more than they win. And I feel that was just a game whereby, to be honest, do I think our performance at Port Vale was any better than in the 5 away losses in a row? Not much. I think it was slightly better. I certainly don't think we gifted them any big chances on a plate like we did in many of those other games. Like, we didn't have the goalkeeper drop the ball onto the goal line. We didn't have defender just, completely not bother to follow his man. We didn't have, the sort of Strictly Come Dancing business that we saw at Mansfield. So I think it was better. Not that that's in any way a bar that it's difficult to clear. It was probably the best performance of the 6, and therefore, got a win, which fair enough. But I'm not hanging out the bunting. One swallow doesn't make a summer, and you could argue we were a little lucky to even get that swallow. In truth, we were grow up. Port Vale, I think, were probably the better side on the day. And the fact that we were the worst side of the 2, and that still was our best performance of the 6, kind of says a lot about how bad the other 5 performances were. I do think Port Vale outcreated us. I wouldn't even say we were more clinical than them, because the Haaland, because I had to go Joel Grant called him Haaland. I say it in my mind because Joel Grant always calls him Haaland on co-commentary because I watched the highlights back, and he said Haaland on one of the games. So the Tolaj finish was probably not much better than any of, probably it wasn't a bad finish. Obviously found net, but it was it wasn't right in the corner. It was quite a good height for the keeper to save, and the keeper just sort of let it through his arms. So a win's a win, but we are going to have to play a lot better than that to sustain a winning run of form. That being said, like I'm not being totally churlish. I will admit that there were definitely some areas of improvement. I'm not just being negative for the sake of it. Like definitely we battled harder, we worked harder. We didn't just have goals that kept, conceded, or chances conceded that just came about because we gave up. We didn't just have goals conceded that came about because we did something, unimaginably stupid, like happens in many of the games. So yeah, I guess that is an improvement. I could, again, a comment coming up saying it's about the result, not the performance. Had Derek Adams written all over it, and again, I kind of want to be able to take that positive enough view on it. And yes, Derek Adams did have a lot of wins like that, but with the exception of some, like, for example, the game that comes to mind is in the League Two promotion league of the Derek Adams, the Doncaster game, where Doncaster just had chance after chance and couldn't put one away. And even like the Bradford game in the year we came 7th, for Bradford just had chance after chance and put them away and didn't put them away. Most of the kind of Derek Adams grisly wins were from, yes, defending deep, yes, playing route one, but limiting the opposition chance creation. And I can't really say that we limited Port Vale's chance creation that much. They had enough chances that they probably should have scored at least 1, if not 2 goals. I don't know, like, they were a better team on the day, but we also we had our moments. There were certain bits tactically that I liked. It was kind of a 4-4-2 baseline shape, but I think at times became a bit more of a 3-5-2 as Such pushed forward. And I think obviously Mumba was in quite an interesting role. I think we'll talk about him in a bit, maybe, because he's certainly my player I'd like to talk about. Yeah, and it was a win. So to wrap up the entire last 8 minutes of rambling into kind of about 20 seconds, better performance than most of the ones before. Still not a good performance. A bit fortuitous to win, but I guess it's at least a platform to build on, and winning is, the result is more important than performance at this stage, because it just stops us being, marooned, I guess would be the word, in 24th place, which really would have been a very, very great concern. So we'll see how it goes. More improvement needed, but it's a start, I guess.
Yeah, to be fair, Sam, you only rambled there for 6.5 minutes, not 8. And so, yeah.
Wonderful.
So fair play. Adam, Sam's already touched on it because I knew he would. The team sheet, there was a bit of confusion on the way to the ground. I know we were in the car trying to work out who was where and who was going to play in which role. Did you decide on what the formation actually was in the end? I know Sam's touched on maybe a 4-4-2 / whatever. It's just square pegs, round holes, isn't it? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah. No, square pegs, round holes has always been. It's always been the way I've said it. Although I know you've gone the other way before, and you do you. But it was 4-4-2-ish. Is I think the word puts it. Out of possession, it certainly looked like we were going with 2 banks of 4. That we were challenging them, I guess, to break down, which they had very difficult time doing. And I think it was really a case that it could become 3 at the back, in the sense that one fullback would be overlapping, the other would kind of tuck in, but it would happen both ways. This wasn't a case of what we tried so unsuccessfully to do at Sheffield Wednesday last season, where it was just going to be Poulsen going into the back 3 from right back, and we kind of had the 4-4-2 with Bundu just off Tijani up front, and it didn't work at all. This was very much not that. This was very much a case of, we're generally going to ensure we are 4-4-2 out of possession, and we'll be fluid with it, but that felt like it was our shape. Albeit it did feel as though it could be plenty of other shapes. And I remember our debate on the way to the ground was very much, who's in the wing-back positions? And it turned out nobody, because we weren't playing with wing-backs, but it very much appeared to be the case of going with a flat back 4. And I guess, as comments have mentioned, it's very Derek Adams-like, I dare say, to give them a couple of banks of 4 to try and break down, and they weren't able to do it. And I mean, it worked, I guess. It was far from perfect, of course it was, and I know Sam's touched upon that. It's not a performance level, I think, that is going to serve us fantastically long term, but it did get the result. We were in a situation where, at the point we scored, our XG was higher than theirs. So we'd done our job of keeping them out. We'd done our job of creating the biggest opportunity of the game. And then we shut up shop. And of course, they built up the chances after that and probably should have scored after we did. But I don't necessarily feel on reflection that they deserve to win the game more than we did. And I don't think that the result is awfully unfair. But yeah, I think having a draw would be the fairest one. But yeah, they did miss a lot of chances, but the most of their misses came after we had already scored our goal. It's just a game state point to be made there. So yeah, I don't hate how we set up. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd be looking at this going, okay, well, we've won, but that's one of our worst performances of the season, and we're looking to build it, but at least we've got the results. Of course, it's not like that. We've had plenty of awful performances playing different shapes, and the fact that we've dealt a fairly poor one playing this one and got the result it's something. Does it mean I think we're going to line up 4-4-2 next week? God knows, to be honest, because Sam will know how many different formations is that now that we've played this season, if we're counting this as a new one.
How many different? I'm not counting it as a new one because I think Huddersfield was basically the same.
Okay.
We then went back to 3-4-3 for the Bristol Rovers game for the first 90 seconds of it before Suits got sent off. But in terms of like how many times we've changed formation, is probably genuinely now about 10 or 11 of them. I think the last game in which we stuck with the same formation as the game before was Exeter, following on from Wickham, where we stayed with 3-5-2. We then sort of went to 3-4-3 for Mansfield, went to our sort of conventional 4-2-3-1 that we started the season with for the Wickham Cup game, then went to that kind of slightly fluid 4-4-2 for the Huddersfield game, then back to 3-4-3 again for the Bristol Rovers game, and now back to 4-4-2 again for the Port Vale game. So, yeah, like lots and lots of changes of shape.
Yeah,
but in terms of actual formation, I'd say probably only, and in terms of actually how many formations, probably only 4, maybe 5, because you have the 3-5-2, you have the 3-4-3, you have the 4-2-3-1 we started the season with, and you now have this new 4-4-2. You could argue that maybe the 4-2-3-1 at times became a 4-3-3, but that's still, it's a lot of formations.
Yeah, it's great to be going into this stage of the season saying, oh, well, we've only used 4, maybe 5 different ones. Yeah, I think it says it all about where we've been. And I guess, yeah, we don't know if this is going to carry over. I mean, if we're talking about this as a Derek Adams style performance, which I guess it very much was, certainly in the latter stages of his first Argyle tenure, I should say, he was very much of the school of not messing with a winning team. So perhaps that is an indication that we'll see the same next week, if indeed everybody's fit. But whether it'll stick, who knows? But it just about worked on this occasion, and we take it.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on the first half, Dan, but as Adam's already sort of said, like I was pretty sure that Derek Adams took that halftime team talk, the way we came out of after half time, and obviously Tolaj put us in front after 3-4 minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah, very much so.
That's not a question. That's just me saying words and then expecting you to provide an answer.
I'll try and fluff it up then with a longer answer.
Yes.
It was very Derek Adams in respect of putting one fullback in front of another fullback on the right hand side. That was extremely Derek Adams coded, wasn't it? But in terms of the first half in general as a spectacle, obviously the view from wherever the bloke compiling, or whoever it was compiling the match report for PAFC online, they must have had a very different view to me, because they described it as an entertaining encounter, I think were the words they used. And well, they must be very easily pleased, because to be brutally honest, it was one of the worst halves of football I've ever watched in my life. Argyle playing kick and chase up to Tolaj, not really anywhere near him. So he's just chasing around up against 2 big centre halves on his own. They were outplaying him, outnumbering him. And that was it. That was our game plan. So, and Port Vale weren't really any better. And as we were saying, with the kind of wider point that maybe it was an ever so slightly better performance than the 6 losses in a row. But, I think we were fortunate to come up against a really poor side that, even though they were that bad, they probably still deserved, as Adam said, at least a point out of the game. So, yeah, it's something to build on. It's hopefully something we can use as a marker. Results over performances, definitely, given where we are in the league. But we've got to be better than this going forward, if we want to pick up regular results from here. And we've got to back this win up. we've got to beat Northampton next week. You know, if we play like that again, I think we will struggle to. But if we don't get a result next week, then all that will kind of be in vain, and we're still very much in a relegation battle. I commented it at the time, thought it after the game. It looked like a League Two encounter, both those sides, and not a particularly good one either, unfortunately. So, yeah, as the guy said, thrilled to get the win. It's a marker. It's something that we desperately needed. You know, that old cliche, they just need a win from somewhere. We've got it. But now we need to build on that in terms of more consistent results and better performance, because it wasn't great. It really wasn't great.
No. Sam, Vale Park Greens is saying Tolaj was loving it yesterday. It had Hall and Hennigan and their grey-haired skipper on toast for 90 minutes. Just a shame so much is put on him to do something. And Steve also asks, who was the last player apart from Tolaj to score a goal for us? Obviously, you can answer that, but was it 10 goal contributions now for a team that are bottom four? Isn't
9 goals in all competitions. I don't know if he's had any assists. I don't. Not one doesn't come to mind, but 9 goals, having joined in the last week of August, is absolutely crazy. To answer Steve's question, it was the 4th goal in the Burton game, so that would be Bim Peppel was the last player, apart from Tolaj, to score a goal for us. Since then, we've had 4 from Tolaj. We had the penalty against Wigan, the nice 1v1 finish at home to Wimbledon, the late consolation at Huddersfield, and the finish. The sort of sharp finish yesterday at Port Vale to give us the lead against his former club. To answer the point about us being very dependent on him, I absolutely think we are. Kenny had asked, did he cross for Sorolola to score a header? I can't remember the opposition. That would be the Luton game. There definitely was a cross in for Sorolola to score a header.
I'm pretty sure it was Tolaj. That's the one I had in my head.
Yes, I think you're right, Kenny. I think you're right. So
10 goal contributions.
Yeah, Kenny and Aaron are right, I believe. 9 goals and 1 assist. Having joined in the last week of August is, just mad, and in such a poor team, quite frankly. So, very much fair play to him for that. He is, we are so dependent on him. I think, genuinely, we are probably more dependent on him now than any of our other teams that I can remember have been dependent on the talisman player. Even the Adams team was so dependent on Carey. The 23-24 team was so dependent on Whittaker. I think this just knocks all of those out the park, to be honest, because he doesn't just finish the chances. So often yesterday, our better moments, again, I'm not being totally negative, there were absolutely some better moments, even though I'm still saying it was a pretty iffy performance. A lot of them, Tolaj had to just come deep because we didn't have the attacking patterns going through the midfield. Boateng's first touch is just, I always make the joke that he can trap a ball further than he can kick it, but I think it was sort of particularly the case at Port Vale. McCabe had moments, hit and miss. Some good moments, some poor moments, but generally speaking, we weren't getting, much. With only 2 CMs as well.
It just feels like we've had that. I mean, we discussed this in the ground yesterday, but it just feels like we've had that midfield issue for years, doesn't it? We've had Randall, but we've had nobody to actually partner him. Or when we did, we just left him on the bench for a whole season.
Houghton. It always seemed to be that whenever we had a problem with the midfield, we could go back to the tried and tested factory settings of Randall and Houghton, and it would be fine. Obviously, when they both left in the same summer, we couldn't really do that anymore. But the reason I'm mentioning the midfield in response to the question about Tolaj, apart from the fact that I love a tangent, is because the midfield wasn't getting a foothold. What we so often saw was Tolaj coming deep and just having to then get the ball moving forward as well. And I think, again, he's such a good player. He has that aspect to him that he can get the move started as well as get the move ended. Comment again coming in along the bottom. I feel I probably have said this many times. I'm not apologies if I'm boring people, but I guess some people might not have heard it. That if someone offers us 2+ million in January, I bet we sell. Again, that will not happen because of the FIFA ruling that a player cannot play for more than 2 clubs in the season. He did play for Port Vale briefly at the start of the season before coming to Argyle. Therefore, he cannot play for a third club in this season. So I would be very much amazed if anybody signed him just for the purpose of keeping him on the bench for 6 months, or not even on the bench. Keeping him in the
Sam, you say that. You say that, but the club apparently are fine with breaking EFL rules. So what's the difference?
Yeah. So what Aaron's referring to with that is we possibly fell foul of the stipulation that you have to name a academy product in the matchday squad. Or if not, then you cannot field your full complement of 7 subs. And we didn't name an academy product. I have been informed, and I think some people are suggesting on free chat, that if you have them in the matchday squad, then it counts, even if they're not named in the final squad. So I guess the fact that Tegan Finn travelled to Burslem would allow us to say that we didn't break that rule. Like I think if that is the case, and maybe the club know better than me. If that is the case, I think that's absolutely crazy, because why? How would that help that you've taken a 17-year-old to sit in, not even on the bench, to sit in the stands when he could have been playing under 18 football, and that apparently helps for player development. So it's one of those ridiculous, if it is a rule, then it's one of those ridiculous rules that shouldn't be a rule, but it's clearly stopped us breaking the rules if that is the case. So yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a tongue twister, but
yeah, could we not just, if that was the case, could you not just register some former player who retired years ago, register them as a player, and then just bring them up on the coach every week to not play, but then they've satisfied the rules?
Like have Gary Sawyer or somebody of that ilk travelling just to every away game. Yeah, I don't know. I feel that I feel that can't be the rule, but if it is, it's such a stupid one. But if it is, then fair enough, you've not broken the rules. I should add, if anybody is panicking, if it turns out we have broken the rules, it would, as we found out on the way home, it would not be a points deduction for a first offence. It would be a monetary fine. But I should make that clear. That's what the FA and EFL guidance says on that. There's a comment coming up from Jack Cope who says, we check this, if you sell 2 academy players, so if you sell academy players plural, I guess that means at least 2. If you sell academy players within 2 seasons, you can have 7 subs. Okay, so I guess with us having sold Cooper and Randall, if that's the case, then we're exempt. But from
the research, Adam, you can back me up on this. From the research you did in the car yesterday, was that if you sell your academy, i.e., don't have an academy, you can't name 7 subs, right?
That was admittedly not my research, but it's backed up by what Harrogate do, which is just name 6 subs every week. Am I right in saying that? Because I think that was brought up as well.
Yeah. So look, long and short, we probably haven't broken the rules, and if we have, then we're going to get a fine rather than a points deduction. So yeah, nothing much to worry about. But it's either a mistake by Argyle, or it's a very weird rule, and I guess we'll find out eventually which one it is.
You did also, Adam, the research that you may or may not have done. You did find out that if we did do it, to say that we did it accidentally, right?
Yeah, that is true. It's one of those mitigating factors. Or it goes the other way, does it? One of the aggravating factors is breaking the rules deliberately, and that could lead to a harsher punishment. So even if we have done it on purpose, if we just plead to the EFL offices that, oh, sorry, lads, we didn't know we'd broken the rules, and put our best sad faces on, then we'll get away with a fine, no problem. If indeed we have broken them, because I think there's a lot of regulation there that could be down to, let's say, some creative statutory interpretation on all sides anyway. So it's a strange one in any case. And as Sam said, either Argyle have been a bit silly and we'll get a fine, or the EFL rule is so bonkers that we're actually all right. It's one of the two. Maybe we'll never find out. And I hope it is. I hope it is the case that we have stuck with the rules, because as we know how these fines build up from the case of the pitch invasion, that the club will be very clear that these fines could easily be taken out of the playing budget should we get them. So if that's the case with their own dopiness, then well, it'll be very funny, but it'll also be very sad.
Just to interject, literally as we've been live, somebody who he's well informed enough to know, has messaged me to say that it's not a rule breach, as the squad list does not equate to match day squad. So yeah, apparently we really could just register Gary Sawyer as a player and have him travel on the coach every game. But I guess the practicalities of doing that when we actually have some, young players who we very often want to take and play would mean it's not worth doing it. But yeah, apparently having them in the squad does not equate to match day squad. Therefore, we've not broken any rules. Is what I've been very reliably informed.
Well, Nanskaville played for us when he was younger, didn't he? Did he come through our academy?
No, I like your thinking, but no, he was a largely non-league player who went to Argyle for a few months and didn't really work out. But no, certainly didn't come through at Argyle.
That's a shame. I mean, it's a shame also that you say welcome back, Gary, sorry, because I'm pretty sure he works for the Community Trust, doesn't he?
Yeah, there we go then. Yeah.
Apart from, I suppose still welcome back, isn't it? Welcome back to the matchday squad. That is something I suppose we could do. Let's go on to your individual players that you want to talk about. Let's go from back to front. Andrew Thomas says, would like you to discuss Connor Hazard. Whilst he stopped a couple of shots, he cannot kick the ball with his right foot and not far with his left. Do you think the ability to kick the ball is accurate? Anyway, Dan, you want to talk about Connor Hazard?
Indeed, and not to stick the knife in too much, but I've seen some people credit him with a very good performance, some very good saves, keeping us in the game. I think was kind of even mooted, and
he did get a clean sheet.
He did get a clean sheet, and he did what he needed to do in terms of saving those shots that were on target.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that looking at all of those attempts that were there, if he lets any of those in, even the ones that he held, you kind of think if he parries any of them out back into danger, you're talking about that as goalkeeping error. So I don't think you can go too far with the praise when he's, sorry to go Roy Keane, doing his job. The kicking is still a bit of an issue. There was one horrible right-footed shank out play that was kind of reminiscent of the Roman Lario days, and it was it's a difficult thing when, especially when you got Tolaj, trying to play across the line up front pretty much on his own. I know Mumba was kind of playing off him, but in attack, Tolaj having to kind of cover that line up top on his own. You need kicking to be accurate when we are going long, and he didn't often enough. As the comment says on screen, the command of area is still a bit of an issue. There was one which got a lot of groans in the first half when he punched rather than caught. I think that was actually a good decision because there were a lot of bodies in the way. He had to come quite far out, so I think that was fine, and he also punched it out of danger, so that's not an issue. But there is still the odd one where you kind of think he could have caught that rather than punched it. So not to stick the knife in, I think, like I say, he did his job. He got a clean sheet, but I just thought some of the praise was going a little bit too far. Given that, I think it was more really Port Vale's poor finishing. They had a couple of shots which just went wide, and then the ones they did put on target, they seemed to put mostly straight at him from promising positions.
Let's go back to front. Adam, you wanted to discuss Alex Mitchell?
I did, yeah. I thought this was one of the major positives of our day, is how well Alex Mitchell defended. I don't know if that's... Oh, I felt like Sam was going to come in then. Did he fancy it? No,
that was literally just clearing my throat. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. Well, I mean, you carry on, sir. I don't know if it was a case of him looking very good next to Ross and Such, who I didn't think were awful, but certainly a little more shakier than Mitchell was. But Mitchell himself has, I think, had an excellent game. There's one moment I think we'll all remember in the first half where it looks certain that I think it's Payton in the middle is going to have a tap in, and Mitchell makes a fantastic clearance just to get it past his own post and very much prevent a goal there, which is fantastic alert defending that we needed at the time. But just throughout the game, he's been excellent in his duels. He's won more tackles than anybody else. He's got the clearances in, and it's the Alex Mitchell that I think we all assumed we had signed. Of course, he's put in performances like this before. We know there's been a lot going along in behind the scenes in his personal life, and we obviously hope all is well. But this performance was it looked like things are well. Shall we say? It looked like he was back to his best, which is fantastic to see, and I hope it carries on. Particularly when you consider who our new director of football is. And I think there are few players in this side who scream Derek Adams quite like Alex Mitchell. I think he's a player he'd have loved to have had in his first spell at the club. And if he does have another spell in the dugout, then I think he'll be building his team around Mitchell again.
Just quickly, Adam, sorry to interject. Actually, I'm interjecting this time, not just clearing my throat. This isn't confidential or received information because Tom Cleverly mentioned it in his press conference. Alex Mitchell's mum sadly passed away a few weeks ago, which is what the circumstance was, and yeah, obviously quite understandably, took a few games out. But yes, definitely agree with your view on his performance yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it's okay. Well, I'm glad that's in the public domain. In that case, that's happened. Of course, we wish him well and hope it's all going well for him with that going on. And yes, the comment on screens there, Mitchell's clearance in the first half is important. The goal, yeah, absolutely. If he doesn't get there, we're going into the break 1-0 down, and God knows what might have happened. So, yeah, really solid display. Really nice to see him back on a personal level as well from the start. And I hope we see more of those performances going on.
And then, Sam, you just wanted to discuss Ballymumba, who, watching him tear down the right at Vale Park was reminiscent of obviously the final day in the title-winning season. There's like a glimpse that he just might be back. His best game in some time, right?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say some time. I think his game at Burton was like considerably better than his game at Port Vale.
How many months ago was Burton?
Well, 6 weeks.
Sometime then. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, that's the football cliche adjudication panel there. Whether 6 weeks in that context, does that constitute some time? Anyway, then rabbit hole. Moving on. It was certainly his best performance since then, I would say. Look, I'm not going to go too OTT on too many players because, like I said, I don't think it was a great performance overall. I think the players who have done well have largely already been named. Hazard, Tolaj, Mitchell, Sarilola, best it's been in a while. The one more I think did have a good game was Mumba. I don't think it was a great game for the reason I'm going to come to. I think Mumba, it was genuinely a pretty mixed performance, which is I think what makes him quite an interesting one to talk about. Firstly, just contextualise, I think with Ballymumba in any formation that doesn't involve wing backs, aka anything that isn't either a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, anything that starts with a 4, basically, you're always going to have the question of where do you put him? Because if you don't, the wing back is such a perfect role for him because he's not the best in the world defensively, and also he's not the best in the world at being clinical in the final third. Where his strengths absolutely lie is ball progression. It's carrying the ball from one end of the field to another. And naturally, if you put him at fullback, a right back or left back, you're going to naturally have come into contact with his defensive weaknesses a bit more. And that was the problem with him in the Rooney team. If you have him in your front three, then you have to reckon with the fact he could be a little bit wasteful in front of goal. And that was the problem we saw in the Schumacher team and also earlier this season when Cleverly put him there. So naturally, with a 4-4-2 formation, the very obvious place to put him is wide right or wide left midfield. So did we put him there? No, of course not. We played him in striker, which was kind of mad when I saw that team line up. But actually, I saw the vision of how it could work because he kind of played as a second striker off of Tolaj, and I do feel there were times where Tolaj was coming deep and Mumba was also deep, and nobody was in the box, and there wasn't really that synergy between them. And I feel at those times I would have liked to have seen, even though I've just said he's not that clinical in the box, I would have liked to have seen Mumba attack the box a bit more because we could have got a good chance on goal, could have taken a defender with him. So like that's something to criticise about the performance. I don't feel there was quite the synergy of a quote unquote strike partnership between him and Tolaj as there should have been. But although there were a couple of moments where they kind of got in each other's way, the moments where Tolaj was attacking the box and Mumba was sort of bounding forward through the centre, but also going out right, also occasionally going out left, like you say, excuse me, dear me, I'm struggling today. Aaron just said, it was reminiscent of the last time we were at Vale Park. Yes, I'm chuckling or whatever. It's been a long weekend, clearly. Seeing him bounding down the wing or even running through the centre of the park, progressing the ball forward. Again, I'm not going to go too OTT because it wasn't an amazing performance overall. And even for Mumba specifically, it wasn't an amazing performance, but there were glimmers. I saw the vision of how him in this system, in this formation could work. And I feel that that's something to be excited about, that we just saw those glimmers of what Mumba used to look like. And as I alluded to in my sort of earlier slightly sarcastic gambit, if we are sticking with this 4-4-2 and we get another striker in, because just very clearly he doesn't trust Pepper or Rossetti at all, not that any of us could have predicted that when they signed. But if we do get another decent striker in, or if, Pepper or Rossetti gets some form, you can very easily play Mumba as the wide right or the wide left, preferably the wide left because he likes to come inside. Because in a 4-4-2, that left midfield is the kind of closest position to a wing back in a 3-5-2 or a wing back in a 3-4-3. So, yeah, far from saying Mumba's back, like he went as a natural wing back at Port Vale was what is wrong with me tonight? At Burton was a tenfold better performance. But it was good to see signs of getting excited about Mumba again for me.
I take back what I said then, because I've just looked at FOTMob and looked at the match ratings, and he was the only person who got below a 7. So maybe I don't know.
I think he wasn't one of our worst players at all, but he wasn't
statistically our worst. Although actually, statistically our worst was Joe Edwards when he came on with 5.8.
Yeah. I'm always a little skeptical of FOTMob's algorithm that they put into calculating it, but yeah, fair enough.
Well, the second worst, I don't know who wants this, Dan or Adam, was actually got a lower rating than Benarouz. Joe Rules, who I thought had a nice, tidy little cameo, showed his experience.
It could be useful for us. Whether it will be most useful in this 4-4-2 system, or whether we can stick him in a 3 and perhaps let him sit in front of the back 4, pick the ball up, protect the defence, but also use his composure on the ball. I think that was the big thing. Just a couple of touches that we saw yesterday, obviously a small sample size, but a few touches where he just, brought it down and played it. It sounds pretty simple, but it is kind of what Jordan Houghton used to do and was good at. And it is something that we have been badly missing in our midfield. It's been kind of very all action and pretty wild, but just that bit of composure on the ball would really help us. So maybe he'll bring that in the coming weeks. Seen some comments about McCabe saying he played it a bit too safe. He's shown signs with us so far, but I think the experience of Rules in there would be really, really valuable. And again, him sitting there will allow players like Boateng and Ibrahim when he's back, although that's going to be a while, to push further forward. Caleb Watts as well when he plays. That will be really, really beneficial to help them get up the pitch, higher up, press, and support our attack. Yeah,
well, I was going to move on. There's two things I want to mention before we move on to the Derek Adams interview. Is obviously I don't know if we've mentioned enough about Lorent Tolaj and his housery, as we call it, wrestling the sold out home end towards our left. Tapping the badge as he wheels off in celebration is always great. There was a second part. There was another part where a player was receiving treatment and he was receiving a bit of abuse from the home end. So instead of doing anything, just walked towards us and raised his arms and got us going, which was quite fun. And then what was the other one? Eamon Benarouz. Just feel a bit sorry for him now. Come on at left back with Mumba ahead of him, and he is a midfielder by trade, and just back off again injured. It's not great to see. Sam's rejoined us, and I bet he's the only man who's actually watched the Derek Adams interviews. Did we learn anything new there?
Yeah, rejoined upstairs. Thank you for the people in the comments showing concerns about me that I'm going the clear my throat. No, I was just moving upstairs because my housemate needed the kitchen.
Yeah, cool.
Did we learn anything new? Yeah, I think people have. I'll give a brief-ish answer on this, but then I'll let someone else follow up. Because I know I've talked quite a lot tonight. I seem to say it every week. Anyway, moving on. I think people have interpreted that different ways. I think some people have just sort of honed in on the comment of, we trust Tom to have faith in his players and have faith in his system, to which I sort of nearly fell off my seat, because whilst I absolutely will accept there are some positive things you can say about Tom Cleverley, having faith in a particular system when he's changed it as many times, as mentioned earlier in this pod, certainly isn't one of them. Faith in his players, well, he's basically come out and said the recruitment's quite bad, so I'm not really sure that connotes faith in players either. But, apart from that, which was, maybe just something he kind of has to say to an extent because he's doing official club media and Tom Cleverley as our head coach, I do feel there are a couple of lines in there that were pointed criticism of, like, he needs to lean on somebody with more experience, the kind of stage whisper being AKA me. He Adams himself heavily hinted at the recruitment not being very good. Yeah, comment coming up on your screen saying Derek said some things had been done incorrectly. Well, you're not wrong there, Derek. They certainly have. And yeah, he hasn't changed his mannerisms at all, has he? This football club, that earworm is.
Sorry, we got Neil Warnock back.
Yeah, that was a terrible Scottish accent, wasn't it? I think I focused too long on the enunciation of the vowels and not enough on the actual accent itself. Yeah, I think he's a man who's clearly very passionate about the club. We know I kind of gave my overarching views on his reappointment in the last pod, and I don't propose to repeat them fully. But whilst I am cynical in the long run, I guess what I was positive about was that he has the potential to go in there and kick some backsides, and definitely I think he has the potential to do that. And I think he's very much said he knows areas where he's going to be suggesting improvements and changes, and I think he will be pleased with the win, pleased with the manner of it, maybe not so much, but as I said, definitely an improvement. So yeah, interesting interview, probably as much what he didn't say as what he did. But yeah, comment coming up on my screen saying funny, he still kept his accent. I meant the mannerisms more than the accent, but yeah, fair play. I did the accent so terribly. You're entitled to take the mic, not the yeah.
Correct. Family friendly show. Sam, Adam, we spoke before the start of the pod. We'd not listened. I tried really hard to listen to the Derek Adams interview in Ⅱ speed. That makes his mannerisms even funnier if you try that. I didn't really learn much new there, but Matt asked a question in Derek Adams' interview. He says that we'll get rid of some unsettled players in January for a whole new squad. Who might this be? It also sounded like one of our loanees will leave in January. Any ideas? You want to speculate on people's levels of unsettledness?
Speculate. Yeah, absolutely. I feel as though it feels very similar to the summer. Well, my only fear there is, okay, we want players who want to be here. Of course we do. How hard exactly are we trying to keep players who don't necessarily want to be here? I think there were departures in the summer that were totally unnecessary, where we could have kept some players from last season around, maybe in certain circumstances, or maybe players that we've looked to sign and haven't signed because they supposedly don't want to be here, who perhaps would have done had they got another £1,000 a week or something like that. So it's interesting to hear and interesting to see where it'll go. Who could it refer to? I mean, the obvious answer is that it's players who were with us in the Championship last season who don't particularly want to be playing in the bottom end of League One. You're likes of Ballymumba, Connor Hazard, Cornell Such, etc., etc. So we'll see. In terms of loanees, well, we've already only got the three of them, so it's got to mean one of the three of Dale, McCabe, and Mitchell. I quite like them all to stick around, to be fair, for their own reason, mainly because, of course, our squad is so light at the moment. I feel like they all kind of offer at least something. But we'll see. It is at least perhaps a sign that we are looking at our use of the loan market and looking at the absolute least to make sure we've got our quota of the 5 loans that we're able to include in the matchday squad. Although God knows what the matchday squad means anymore, so maybe that'll be something that'll evolve as we go. But yeah, well, I think that's the impression I'm getting. We will at the very least get the 2 loans in to max it out. And of course, in Adams' first season with us, we ended up with 7 loans, I think, at one point, going on to the end of the season. So we may look even more and have a little bit of rotation going on with exactly who makes the squad. So yeah, I imagine players will leave. I imagine players will be unsettled. If they are unsettled, the first thing I'd like to do is try and work out why and see if there's a route that we can keep them, particularly if we think they're talented enough to stay. But yeah, there'll be movement in, there'll be movement out, and I say we're going to use the loan market a lot better. We could hardly have used it worse, in the sense that we didn't pick up anybody before mid-August in the summer transfer window. I'd like to think Derek Adams will be the sort of man to put that right. So let's see. Was it just over 6 weeks, or maybe even under 6 weeks, till that window and silly season all kicks off again. So it won't be long till we find out.
Yeah, nice. Just want to do a quick. No, actually, talking of Mumba, I'm not saying it's him that's unsettled at all, but I do feel a bit sorry for him that we've just sold all of his mates, all of his best mates from Finazaz. Or we didn't sell Finazaz, but they've all left. Finazaz, Morgan Whitaker, all the Ryan Hardy, all the people that he would have had such great memories with down here, and he's like the last one, like just like that scene in Toy Story where Andy doesn't want to play with his toys anymore, and he's just left behind as he goes off to university. That's what it feels like. Anyway, before we do a quick preview of Northampton at home, because we got to do that. We're over an hour already, but shout out to again. Huge positives coming out of the women's team. Brian says Argyle women's team, another great game and a win today. Come on, you Greens. That they're through to the next round of the FA Cup after a 2-0 win over. It's a Welsh name. I can't say it properly. Gwale United. They used to be Cardiff City before they went independent. 15 games unbeaten in all competitions now for Marie Hurahan's side. Fantastic. I'm slowly considering just switching my allegiance and just fully watching them as they pick up win after win after win and go on FA Cup run. So fair play to them. Dan. Big one. Tyrese Fauna's Northampton Town up next at home. Richard Sloman says this Saturday will be a real test. 15k Janners demanding a home win. We will rise to the occasion or will we rise to the occasion or go missing like we normally do when there's expectation?
Is there much expectation? I'd be surprised. But easy to say. I know it's a bit of a hyperbole, but this is the biggest game of our season for me so far. Because, as I said, we need badly to back up the Port Vale result. I think, as a lot of us speculated on recent pods before that win at Port Vale yesterday, the first home game after this long run could have been, and it could still be, very, very ugly in terms of some of the scenes we might see. Dissatisfaction from fans. If it's a poor performance and we lose again, then that's going to understandably make a lot of fans very, very upset. And we might well return to the very bottom of the table, a table that we should be fighting at the top end of, based on pre-season noise and pre-season expectation. So it's a huge game and one that we need to use this result from yesterday to build on. I hope it can bring a better performance and another win. Do I think that will happen? Who knows? A lot of what we saw yesterday made you wonder, to be brutally honest, what do they do in training? Some of the patterns of play. We had a couple of times when someone made a really good third man run down the wing, and whether they went too early or the pass was played too late, it ended up in being an offside, or they just had to stop their run and halt it, and we missed that opportunity. That's the kind of cohesion that you expect from a team that is really well drilled, and we don't have it. So we need to not only back up the win with another, but I want to see some progression in the performances as well, because if we play like we did yesterday against Northampton, who are not as bad a side as Port Vale, or if we come up against many other teams in this league and put that performance in, we are going to really struggle, and it might just be yet another defeat. So very, very big game. Hopefully, we can put something together and start going on a bit of a run, because we really, really need to get out of this relegation fight.
Sam, not to go all Aaron's corner, but Argyle and Northampton have not drawn any of their last 13 games against each other, and Northampton haven't kept a clean sheet in 8 games. We've got to be winning this one, haven't we?
Sorry, what's the stat that we haven't drawn any of our last
13 games with each other?
That's a great fact. I guess
you.
the game that started that run would have been in.
We'll steal that one for somebody's vlog, I'm sure, and then everybody will give you credit for it.
Yeah, I'll credit you. I'm guessing it must have been the 2-2 draw in April 03 was the game that we did draw that started that run. Yeah, and then we had the 0-0 draw in October 02 as well, October the 5th, in fact. Yeah. Anyway, have we got to be winning this one? I mean, ideally, yes. That's not just from like a Northampton, they're traditionally a smaller club for the league point of view. It's the fact that they're not a great team. They're not a terrible one either. They're on not the best run of form. They're I saw on Twitter some of their fans worrying they might get sucked into a relegation dogfight. So if they go to home park and lose, then I think they could be in a bit of trouble as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to, I'd say it's either going to go one of two ways. I think people are often talking about it as though it's either going to go one of two ways. Like it's going to be a win that's going to, keep the good, more positive momentum going and, ease some of the worries and hopefully get a bit of a run started, or that it's going to be, it's a complete false storm. We're going to lose again. People will still be shouting, ranting, raving 10 minutes into the game but at full time. I honestly wouldn't be surprised at all if it went the middle way, if it was kind of a draw, which I think is the outcome that would just kind of prolong the agony. It wouldn't be a decisive case for keeping Cleverly, but it also wouldn't be anywhere near, a bad enough outcome for our board to fire him. I've said my couple of comments from superintendent asking, are people still Cleverly in, still Cleverly out? Look, I've been honest with you, I think we should have sacked him, if not after Exeter, and certainly after Mansfield, and then the next best time to sack him was after Wickham, and then the next best time was after Huddersfield. So, the fact we've now got a win would be a bit of an odd time to sack him. So I guess having given him this game, you probably then have to at least give him the next one. I personally would take and count myself lucky not to be already sacked. But like I say, I feel that it's going to be one of those annoying 1-1 draws that just prolongs the agony of, it not being a decisively a case for keeping Cleverly, but not being a decisively a case of sacking him either. And with Aaron's comment that we've not drawn any of our, what was it, last 11, did you say last 13? 13. I will also say that Argyle have only drawn one in the last 23 league games. We've only drawn once this season, which was the 1-1 draw at home to Wigan, and we didn't draw any of our final 7 league games last season. So this fixture is due a draw. Argyle are due a draw with only 1 in 23 league games. It just feels like the kind of vibe of what will happen. That's my prediction.
Nice. Adam, can you see that happening, or can you see us kicking Kevin Nolan in the cobblers?
Very nice. Yeah, a 1-1 feels reasonable. Mainly because I think Northampton this season, their games have just generally been very boring. They've done enough to keep their head over water. They're not quite in the relegation. Well, they're not in the relegation zone at the moment. They're not quite in the battle, I guess, from where they are. They've done just about enough, but they don't score many goals and they don't concede many goals either. So a 1-1's possible, 0-0 even. It is frankly possible. And if there's going to be a winner, I can't really see any side running away with it. So if we line up the same way as we did against Vale, then to be honest, I can see a very, very similar game playing out where no team really gets on top and whoever takes their one big chance could win it. I hope it's us, but there's every chance that, as Sam's put it there, these are clearly due a draw, these two teams in these fixtures. So maybe that's what we're going to see. But if there is to be a winner, I would not rule out a 1-0 either way at all.
Anybody else got anything to add? Because I'd love to wrap this up and go to bed. No? Nice. Remember,
I do. As well as thanking obviously everybody who's been involved, what I also want to do is thank everybody who sent us messages of congratulations to the account or to us individually. I'll be honest, I haven't yet replied to all of them. I will absolutely try to, but this is my acknowledgement of all your congratulations and thank you so much for being kind enough to say so.
So the amount of comments and DMs and even personal messages I've just not even got around to them. A lovely one. I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning it. A lovely one from Nance as well. Really appreciate that. And glad that he's on board too. So yeah, just echo it again. Just really appreciate it. Thank you. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Find us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all your major podcast platforms. Because if you don't follow us there, you most probably miss the vote to vote for us again next season, even though I said I wouldn't do it again. And I'm sure we'll try again next season to go for the silver, if not gold. But no, thank you. Cheers, guys.